Okay, guys, I'm glad we're all able to get here together tonight as members of the Roundtable. My name is Scott. I am at Vegas Horse Pools on Twitter. Thing we're going to discuss tonight, and we only have one topic, we're going to talk about probably the biggest problem in our industry right now, and that's the bookie better relationship. And we've got a couple members of the Roundtable. I'll let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves. Adam, do you want to go first?
Yeah, no problem. Again, Adam Bjorn, 30 plus years gambling, almost 30 years booking, and been building the tech to try and bring these two worlds together the last 4 or 5 years. Um, Plenty of time in the offshore back in 20 years ago when I moved to this side of the world. I've operated out of Australia, India, Vanuatu, and a few other places.
Yeah, we're really going to lean on you in this conversation since you have so much experience on the other side. Phoenix Adam, you want to go second?
Sure. My name is Adam Orphan. I've been betting football for quite a few years, but would be classified as a recreational bettors. I have a full-time job, full-time family, and basically like to do top-up approach with NFL. So meeting you guys and others, up in the game, learning some things. So I have some definite questions about this whole topic from that recreational kind of, point of view, so to speak.
That sounds really good. I'm glad to have you here. Cameron, you'll be the last one. We save the best for last.
Thank you. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Cameron. I'm like a Rec Plus better also, right? Regular job. I take betting seriously because I don't like to lose money. But doing this for like 6 years, so what my perspective is more of somebody who's riding the sports betting boom, right? With the repeal of PASPA and sports betting coming into Ontario, Canada as well, and the explosion of 20 sports books per jurisdiction and trying to navigate that environment.
Sounds good. Sounds real good. All right, Adam, I'm going to throw the first question out here to you since you have all the book experience. I used to work. I've worked for two different books, but I never had any responsibility about kicking players out or limiting them or anything like that. And I
Neither
know,
have I.
well, I think, but you've had management experience where people have talked about that. And I guess the problem we have in this industry is I would like to have a good, strong relationship with my book. I have several books here in Vegas where I have a problem I can call straight to the top and I can get something fixed. But we have a lot of major national players in our market, your FanDuels, your Caesars, your DraftKings, that there's nobody for you to talk to. So you're just a number to them. And I'm trying to figure out how we can build a better relationship with them. I know you're going to be opening a book shortly here, somewhere not in Vegas, which I disagree with. It should be in Nevada, but you're going to be opening a book soon. How would you want somebody, a new bettor that you don't know, how do you want them to deal with your book?
I mean, again, a lot of it just comes down to respect on both sides, approaching it in a certain manner. Um, it's crazy some of the chats and recordings that I've heard over the year from customers coming in and even clerks, going out, and the way that there's a lot of non-respect from both sides. So again, it's more of, the biggest way I've sort of dealt with it is I've had people that have followed me for 25 years. Wherever I've gone to work, they're one of the first people's opening up accounts once I start day one. Because again, they just know that they'll get a fair bet. They'll get things that, other places might not have. They might see, 25 to 1 on futures at one place and I'm at 20. So they'll ask for the 25s, which I'm usually happy to give unless I'm keeping something. But again, it's just generally like you would with anyone, approach. And unfortunately, again, most of the operators, 98 out of 100, just are playing the game of get rid of anybody that has any chance of beating you. The epidemic or pandemic or whatever it is these days is gotten to the point where No one's just wanting to take a bet. If they work out, if they get rid of as many people that are borderline possible winners and even small losers, that they want to get rid of them. And again, that's just the unfortunate way that the industry's going right now.
Yeah, and that's what we're seeing all across the nation. And I just don't get it, because we need the books. But the books need us to bet just as easily. Now, I can understand if I was running a book and I made a mistake. There's a minus 300 favorite, and I made a mistake, and I fully admit it. I made it a plus 300. I'm not going to be very happy with the customer if they're going to bet those, because if you're going to take that kind of shot, I probably don't want your action at all. But if you're a legitimate winner, and I put a legitimate minus 300 up there and you bet it, I kind of want your action, because it should allow me to move the numbers to one of my winners' position, and I should be able to learn from them. That's the position you take, right?
Well, yeah. And again, I used to take those plus 300s that should have been minus 300. I was usually one of the first ones in line, Jesus, like 25 years ago, and people put up their number. And I knew that, that I had access to markets all around the world. So again, NBA games, NFL games in Australia, they didn't really know. So if I knew there was a flip line and things like that, I mean, I'd go in hard. I had no respect for the bookmakers, to the point where, again, they called me a sniper in Australia in the late 90s, because, again, they just knew that if I came in, there was either something wrong with the line, or there was off, or, that was just the way I played. And it took years and years to really get to a point where now if I bet, and sometimes I'll bet an offline, and it's really to tell the book that, hey, cancel my bet, check your line kind of thing in some of those spots. Because that's the quickest way they see it. You try and send them an email number, but again, I've earned the spot of, they know why I'm betting an offline. It's to alert them, and then, I expect the bet to get deleted. Whereas there's others that are still playing the game of, they're just trying to, take advantage and screw you every chance they get. And those accounts get marked and they never get any favors or anything in their way. Whereas again, others that have come in, guys that call up, depending what kind of bettor they are, recreational players, etc. If they sort of say, hey, Caesars is this, you're this, it was a fat finger punch in the wrong number. You might fling them 25 or 50 or 100 or something, just to sort of say thanks and then, move on kind of thing. I've seen people take bad lines, and again, they've done it. I know who they are. We have a relationship, and I've just left the bet and said, all right, that's your bonus kind of thing, because they've bet it, let me know, and things like that. So again, it's a two-way street. Unfortunately, on the punters, bettors side, there's a lot that are looking one way. A lot of operators are looking one way. There's very, very few sort of two-way really relationships, which ultimately, liquidity and information are king in this business. So I want all the bets and I want all the information. And then from that, I can work out where the number needs to be, what players to respect, what players to bring into the business and stuff like that.
Right. And I can definitely respect that. I have kind of a different perspective on the world than most people, because I'm customer support for Spank Odds. So I'm forced to watch everybody's everything. So what I do, I have a strong relationship with multiple books. And when I'm checking Spank Odds and I see you've got a flipped line, I just simply call the book and say, this is Scott with Spank Odds. Are you sure this number is right? And then they go, oh my God, no, it's not right. It's flipped. I say, okay, cool. Just want to let you know so you'll get beat up on this. Because that's one of the things that I want to provide for people that treat me well. Now, there are a lot of books that don't treat me well, and I don't make that phone call. But I think that's one of the things I try to give back to people that are good to me. And I think that's something that is easy to give to, because I don't want to bet the flipped line. I don't want to have that relationship. when I bet at your book, I want you to know it's a legitimate bet. I'm not trying to play a game with you, but still, there's several books. I shouldn't say several. There's 2 books in Vegas that I've been kicked out of for literally doing nothing wrong but winning. And I just don't know what to do about it because I thought I had a good relationship with one of the books. The other book, they kick everybody out. There's nothing you can do about it. But I guess I just was looking for some kind of tips from you on how to build a relationship that I don't know already. And I'm sure that there's other people on the round table that could benefit from this too. And then I'll let you answer. And then I'll throw the question and I'll let Phoenix Adam go next.
Right. Again, I think it's, access is a big thing. A long time ago, we didn't have all this social media. We didn't have all these kind of things. So getting access to anyone behind the scenes was really hard.
Right.
Your frontline customer service, they don't know anything. I mean, again, majority of the world offshore, etc., is earning a couple of bucks an hour or something like that. And then even, I guess, in the US, they're, probably underpaid for what they do and the hours and whatnot. But they don't know. Again, it's not their job to know all the information. They're there as customer support. And this business is, again, full of rules, full of different things, full of different sports, full of different markets. I mean, it's hard to keep up with everything these days of being a customer service clerk, getting access to people behind the scenes. And again, head traders, I mean, I've just seen it as a big part of the business wherever I've been. It just helps grow liquidity. Whereas head traders at these books, they probably think they're above having a conversation with most of the customers. One of the biggest things that advantages I've had is I can sit at the Kingston racetrack in Jamaica and guys that are betting 10 and 20 cents, drink red stripes with them and have lots of fun. And I've been to dinners where guys are betting 7 figures on different games. So again, it's just opening it up to everybody and answering the questions and making their experience as frictionless as possible.
Yeah, I think you're great. I'll go ahead and throw it to Phoenix Adam. Give him a shot to ask his question.
Sure. Thanks, Scott. So I'm in a new jurisdiction, or a jurisdiction that went legal new a couple years ago. So I'm obviously got accounts in all these legal markets, hearing everything on Twitter, what I've learned from everybody, where these is going to go has me, less than enthused maybe about what tomorrow could look like. But in the meantime, I'm kind of intrigued about the profiling you do when people bet. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, could you use that information to potentially last longer in these legal books? And obviously you're not kicking people out, so you may not be able to. I don't know exactly why they're kicking, if it's just a dollar amount or what it is. But I just wondered can you tell from the bettor if they're betting top up, top down, opinion with a group or something, and if there is an angle in there to bet that might prolong these accounts?
Yeah, I mean, I've played the same games that all these Americans, yourselves and whatnot, are playing now. I played them 20 years ago, doing parlays, round robins, trying to, look like a square or a recreational player, but hoping to hit big things. I mean, it was a cat and mouse game. And I see the same things happening now, which for me as an operator is tiring. I mean, profiling players, it pretty much starts as 2 things: recreational, professional, or however they call them in the different terms. Then from that, the recreational side, you work out whether they're a 1 limit or a 2x or a 5x or a 10x limit player, where again, if you're doing bottom up limits, so say the game across the board is $500 for everybody. Everybody should be getting the $500. Now, again, recreationals, you can bump them up. Some might get 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, unlimited. But on the other side, again, the pros, what we do is just they get the 500, and then you take that information. Now, from the pro aspect as well, we carve them up into other groups as well. Is it an arbor? Is it originator? Is it, betting bad lines? Or is it a bonus whore? Or I mean, I think we literally have one called scumbags, which we just make sure they're on big delays. We give them nothing, and we know when they come in that a line is wrong. Like they're not bringing in any legitimate business. So again, that's sort of how you're profiling. Now, me, I mean, arbitrages are my canaries in the coal mine, because again, I know if my product's good or bad versus the market. If I'm losing, some of them I'll reach out, and I've reached out to many arbitrages and said, who are you arbing me against? And they'll say, and then I can work out, okay, whether it's, just a one-off or a multiple occasion, or whether there's a particular book that's very good on a particular sport that they're always arbing a particular sport with me and we're getting beat. So then that's the goal of turning that around. Or the other rule that we if you can break square with an arbitrager, then generally, you've got a great book, you've got a great position, and the rest is gravy. Again, originators, let them have their bet, use the information, move the line. There's lots of times over the years where originators have bet, the market's gotten hold of the bet and just ran the line way too far in one direction. And then that same originator's coming back the other way because, again, a lot of them are playing such small margins. They only need it to move 30, 40 cents and they're looking to come back on the other side. But you wouldn't know that if you just took the first bet and then panicked and let your number run, and then you saw bets coming on the other side. Well, you'd think, oh, are they arbitraging someone that hasn't moved yet? Are they? Take all the bets, you have all the information.
That's really good. I really like to hear that. Adam, Phoenix Adam, did you have another question, or you want me to go on to Cameron?
No, let's go to Cam.
Cameron, you want to go ahead and go next?
Yeah, my question is from a business perspective, right? Like, again, as a recreational plus player, I've been limited from any number of sports books, right? Sometimes after 10 bets, sometimes bonus whoring or whatever you want to call it, right? But there's a finite amount of people that are gonna bet sports, right? Sure. And if people like me keep getting limited, like enthusiastic sports bettors who win a couple of bucks, there's no proof that I'm a long-term winner in their mind if I've only made 10 bets or something like that. So like, if you're running a sports book, I don't understand what the advantage is cutting your potential client pool dramatically in half, and then also, like, I would just actively go tell my friends never to bet here because you're going to go through all the headache of setting up an account and then you can't get a bet. So then, like, potential customers would also be gone. Like, I'm trying to understand the advantage from like a cost benefit perspective of just limiting like Rec Plus players like that.
Well, again, I mean, even the true sharp players, professional players, they're probably 0.5%, 0.25% of the pool. There's really not that many. Even globally, there's really not that many. Then you have your sort of, as you put yourself in the position of recreational, getting better, but finding some edges, finding a few little nuances that you like to follow, and gaining respect from a lot of the operators. Again, there's no proof that you're long-term winner from so few bets. And again, that's the other thing is I've known guys that have just blitzed it for 2-3 years and they're broke. Again, this is a hard thing to do for multiple years, multiple seasons, let alone decades. So again, I'm confused why a lot of them do it. However, there's a lot of players out there. There's a lot of people that bet sports, particularly in the US. None of these books want to do sports betting. None of them give a shit about sports betting. None of the casinos care about sports betting. This is a Trojan horse to iGaming.
Yeah.
Again, one of the biggest mistakes the US made with the regulations was letting these companies build off the back of not having to pay taxes on the bonus rebates and all these kind of things, which was insanity. I asked one regulator, I think it was from Michigan or something, at one conference, and he said, well, we had to build the industry. The industry's been there for 40 years. I mean, there's been billions of dollars getting bet for the last 20 or 30 years. Like, you didn't have to build anything. They were going to open it up. They're there. They're going to come. And then you're going to get all the new ones that didn't know how to go to Western Union and send it offshore, or, you know, all those kind of things. So it's somewhat finite, but there's just so many players. The databases, I mean, you have how many operators in the world, even how many, you know, I think there's almost 50 different brands in the US. I think over 40 at least. Now, again, there's a lot of overlap, but there's also some places where the education hasn't hit, where you should have 3, 4, 5 sports books. People open one sports book, they get their bets on. Why bother? So it's a balance of these guys thinking that, you know, and this is the argument I've got in for 20 years, is would you rather hold 3% of $1 billion or 10% of $1 million? Well, again, I know it costs to process, I know it costs to operate and all these other things, and there's a balance, but there's a number there where I'd rather hold the 3% than the 10% of, you know, the million, because again, it's, you know, the liquidity, and you have that. And when you have more liquidity, your product becomes better. The staff, the operators, everything's just better. It just runs more efficiently because there's less stress, somewhat, I think, of having all the information. And then again, building the relationships with the best players. So, you know, when they come in, why they're coming in, you move the number, and then you can up your limits to everybody else. And now you're taking bigger bets because you know where you need to be based off the information.
Nice. Yeah, that's like a bookmaking mentality. Like, do you think that there's any do you think there's any coincidence between PointsBet in the States knowing for banning anybody with a pulse and then also having to sell itself, like the first one to put up the white flag?
Well, I mean, there's been a few. They just come in with more money behind them and made a big run at it. I mean, the Fubo Twin Spires learnt very quickly. Again, it's the methodology that some of these are coming in. Again, Fubo come in, they think they're going to run this off their, you know, 90, 120 second delayed soccer games that they show and build their backbone off that. You can't do that. Twin Spires, which is the one that confuses me the most, because they must have one of the best gambling databases in the US, and how they couldn't get that up and convert it into something. It has to have, you know, just completely dropped the ball on that one. But again, I think they have an opportunity to be able to do something along the way still. PointsBet just come in with more money. They threw it out hard. And they just ran out of steam. I mean, they're making good money in Australia. They do the same methodology where they restrict and limit in Australia. But they were just burning money. So it was just time for them to say, you know, can't compete. And then everyone's sort of seeing, you know, the top two have got 80, 85% of the market share. You've got another one coming on board in Fanatics in, you know, massive bankroll behind them. What will they be able to do? I mean, PointsBet have been on the sale block for probably a year and a half. I mean, the numbers, they were looking for 500 or 700 million at one point. So they're probably just happy to get out with what they got and run back home.
Well, that question right there really causes me a problem. Let me tell you the problem that I see from a business side. And we need to look at it from the business side of the book for just a minute here. If you're limiting all your players, all your good players, you're really messing yourself up, that I believe. For example, there is a local casino here in Vegas that likes to limit everybody and kick everybody out. But here's the thing they don't realize is I have a lot of friends that come in from out of town, a lot of family that comes in from out of town. Where do I take those people to eat? Where do I take them to play their slots? Well, I'm not going to take them to a place that's kicked me out. I'm going to take them to a place that lets me bet freely. And that's one of the places where they lose all this free advertising that they get from letting people bet. Now, I don't know what your relationship is going to be with the casino that you're at when you're opening yours here in the US, but I've got to think that that's got to take some kind of priority from the casino of you not causing negative advertisement. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, again, the couple that we're looking at opening initially, one doesn't have a casino tied to it, the other one does.
Okay.
And again, it's the relationships. I mean, I think again one of the bigger mistakes is the marketing and the amount that was spent, and that's where PointsBet kind of died on their sword. Then NBCSN deals, some of these other deals, they're not really pulling in the players like they expected to. And again, if you know the sort of background of the US gaming, and again, it's been there a long time, a lot of it was word of mouth. It was the corner bookie down there, the guy at the bar. You go down and you bet with them. I mean, that's how it was all created. That's how it all grew. And then it was sort of someone like Walters that was known and seen, well, he's betting at such and such, and it's the Pied Piper thing. Again, can't say no one. Circa's kind of doing it in a sense where they are. And again, they're sort of a niche spot in Nevada. They haven't necessarily got that traction in the other state that they're in right now, or the other two states. So you are sort of wondering, how do you compete? Price sensitive may not work. So you've sort of got to take all the tools of, again, how it was all created and how it was brought together. But the word of mouth and pushing it that way, as you say, it's the relationships, not just the people, but the relationships with brands, with companies, with everything else, of becoming a one-stop shop. And again, a lot of these places used to be sports books, even offshore. And then again, they added a casino, they added a race book, or whichever way it went. And they added a few other things. Again, the casinos always had the sports book pushed down in the back corner. All they wanted to do was make sure that they catered to anybody coming in, because the slots and everything else were the money makers. Restaurants is another thing. So while none of us like what they're doing, they're kind of doing what they need to do as a business, because they don't understand a piece of it. For me, I'd love it if all of these guys say, sports betting doesn't make any money. Here, take it. Let me go and concentrate on iGaming. Because I'm always looking to be a sports book with a casino, and they're just a casino with a sports book. So ideally, I hope some of them get to that point of just, it's too hard, it's too much work, just do some kind of deal and take the sports book off our hands. We'll run the iGaming, and they'll make a shit ton of money, and they'll do great and everything else. But again, it's whether they're public or they're private, and how many mouths they've got to feed. The advantage of the way we're trying to tackle this is a hell of a lot less mouths to feed than public companies and big private ones. I'm in this for another 15 to 20 years, hopefully. Whereas a lot of them are just looking their next quarter, how much money am I making, get in, get out kind of thing, which was, the Blue Bets, the Points Bets, and all these other Australian companies that come over. That was their goal. Get over to the US, either IPO or sell for some big, ginormous number, and then get out and go back, sort of thing. And that sort of, imploded a hell of a lot quicker than what I think any of us really thought. I thought maybe, in 8-10 years that might happen, but for it to happen in 4 to 5 was a lot quicker than really expected. But again, it's the cost of the business. I mean, there's some states that it's so expensive to get into. The taxes are insane. I thought Tennessee was one of the best states in the beginning to try and be an, unnamed kind of brand. Go in there. It was a $750,000 license fee. Yes, the 10% hold thing and the taxes was, ridiculous. And they obviously shows that they don't understand sports betting. But now for them to go to their volume tax, it's probably one of the worst out besides New York. So again, it's the regulators are really making a bit of a mess of this as well, which again goes back to how to run a business. They're not doing it wrong. They're just doing it differently than what we would like them to do it. And that's kind of the challenge of where it's all at right now.
All right, that sounds really good. There's going to be a bunch of our Roundtable members that are going to listen to this, and I guess I just want to let you, Adam, close us up by saying this. I know you don't limit people. I know that's not your game, but there's a lot of books in this country that just do that. If you could just help us by giving us your top 5 or your top 3, whatever you can do, ways to extend our runway. What would you give advice to our Roundtable members?
I think that, again, the obvious one is the bad lines, giving them a heads up or building something around that. That's an obvious one that gets you a black mark against your name. Surviving the accounts is playing the biggest sports, or instead of just betting, Academy Awards or player props or something like that. Give a mixture of volume. Do your if you're an NFL better, money line spreads and that, like, put that into the book more heavily than some of the others, if it's the same book that you really want to play player props and that where you have an advantage. So play those high advantage ones with stuff where you're maybe break even or win small kind of thing. And again, generally it's sort of trying to find the right person in the place to build a relationship with. Just ask anybody how you can help. I mean, the biggest thing is just give. And then one day when you need something, then you can have that ask. And I mean, I think that's sort of the biggest thing that I've learned as well of, again, straight out of high school, straight into this business. I was just take as hard, as quick and fast as I could. And then you just, again, learn as you get older, this kind of potentially works the other way. If you just give. And then when you have an ask, and it's usually you wait for a good big ask, then you do it. Maybe it's something that, you get yourself into a position on a game and you've bet the wrong side, or the numbers moved against you and you need a few extra cents on something to get out of it. There's lots of little things along the way that, that you can work through. And then ultimately, you need to have multiple books. So then potentially build multiple relationships, but also hone in on those one or two if you think you can get majority of your volume in there and, and have a good feedback. Then, I've found that, and this is going to be something difficult because I'm learning as going into the US, is in a lot of places, you can't place bets through the client or the call center or things like that. Everything has to be done through the internet and punched through the website. Whereas, for years, my advantage has always been I can just enter the bet in, or I can, move a number and things like this for people. So that's sort of going to be one of the tricky things of, all right, I'm going to change this number, get ready, change the number, get your bet in and, move on kind of thing. So that's, again, a lot of it's that, just find the right people, build a relationship, and, give until you sort of need something, and it's a two-way street.
That sounds really good to me. Really good. Cameron, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, I mean, I wish you a lot of success with the way that you're going to run your business there as they come up in America, because it sounds like, more of the bookmaker model as opposed to the soft book model, which more we can get of those, the better.
Right. And it'll be hard. I mean, even, Circa's numbers and what they're holding, and it's a tough end of the business to be in. But again, a lot of us are doing this more for fun, money. So it's just, we've gotten to that point where it's just trying to do the opposite to what everyone else is doing. But I will say the others are starting to turn. The others will realize that the way to annihilate the rest of the competition is to do it this way. So I do expect, at least one of the top two or a few of the others to start making some turns to try and be more engaging and more accepting. But time will tell.
Yeah, like Rec Plus bettors can also get really drunk when they're watching the NBA Finals and dunk $300 on the over like that. Those things still happen.
Yes, exactly. I mean, that's why, again, there's very few that you should really restrict. Even coming to this side of the world, when I got over here, all the talk was about Billy Walters. To me, he wasn't much. I mean, as I walked in, I was seeing what he was doing and the margins he was betting and where the lines were moving. I mean, grew up with guys in Australia that, could move a game a couple of dollars, not 20, 30, 40 cents. Or they could flip a 7-point favorite to a 7-point dog. I mean, it was, you had it was a lot less inefficient markets. And then people of the same quality or equivalent as what Billy was in that time. But over here, your numbers are so efficient. So you're already ahead of the game with whatever the number is. Everybody's got the same number. That didn't exist in Australia. It was like 10 books and you'd get 10 different numbers and there could be a 4-point margin between the top and the bottom. So again, it's really on the US sports, you just got to let everyone bet. It's just the way it has to be for me, I think.
I love hearing that. I just let me bet. That's all I want to do. Phoenix Adam, do you want to do any closing thoughts?
No, I appreciate your time, Adam, and the insights you provide us. I'm always looking to learn stuff about the industry. So I hope your attitude rubs off on some of the others around.
And I second that a lot. Adam, I know I lean on you a lot, and I really appreciate your willingness to always help and provide all the information that you do. I know everybody on the roundtable really does appreciate your time. And I want to thank everybody for being on the show tonight. We don't generally record these, but we thought we would go ahead and record this one, put it on our YouTube channel. We'll see what kind of response we get. Maybe we'll do more recordings. Adam, do you want to do any closing thoughts? And then we'll end this one.
No, I mean, again, I'm just eager to get live and start taking bets. I mean, at the end of the day, with the software development is hard. I mean, taking bets is easy, placing bets is easy. The middle bit's hard, regulatory is hard, compliance is hard, legislation's hard. I just want to take bets. So again, the idea is to get in one state and then hopefully get in a second state before football. And there's potentially another 4 or 5 lined up over the next 12 months. And then again, just the great thing is you start taking bets. The numbers are reported every month. So we'll know where we stand and be able to compete against and just try and climb up the chart in each state that we exist.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there. I just wish Nevada was higher on your list, but I
I'll
understand.
never come to Nevada. I'll never, but I'll get on the doorstep, hopefully sooner rather than later. But Nevada's a tough one.
I understand that completely. All right, guys. All right, guys. I just want to thank everybody for being here. We'll go ahead and end the show. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and post this one on YouTube on our channel. So I want to thank everybody for being here, and good night.
All right, cheers.